Somebody came on my comments and said, love your reviews, mate, but stop doing the Flossie Carter expressions. I didn't know that was a major, major no. Today, I'm going to be taking a look at a speaker that has one of the greatest names in Bluetooth speaker history. It's not the boom. It's not the little bit of a boom. It's the Mega Boom. It's going to go so loud. It's going to have so much bass. In fact, it's not just the Mega Boom 1. It's not the Mega Boom 2. It's a follow-up to the Mega Boom 2. It's the Mega Boom 3. But hang on a second. There never was a Mega Boom 2. So I don't know why they call it Mega Boom 3. But I hope they got the Mega Boom spot on. It's not a new speaker. It's a speaker that I've avoided for a long time. But you still, again, lots of speakers you're still talking to me about. It's not as... I did start years and years ago with a pair of UE booms. And I was quite happy until I discovered what else you could get. But the UE Megaboom, this has been drop tested to 1 meter. That's fantastic. You can wirelessly charge it because it's got that little wireless charger receiver at the bottom. And it has what they call a magic. It's not just a button, it's a magic button for controlling your music. It's looking really good at the moment. It's called the Megaboom, it's the 3. It's miles better than the 1. And even better still, they've got an app, and in that app, you can adjust the EQ. Oh, but hang on a second. What does the EQ actually do?
Megaboom 3 front on, some bass adjustment for lower volumes. It is more bass heavy at lower volumes. 80% is your volume limit. It's not just limiting, it's doing some weird things. You end up getting less upper bass, but you do actually get a bit more of so-called deep bass. Very early roll-off before 3 kilohertz and reasonably flat between 300 hertz and 3 kilohertz. So we've got a big upper bass peak. We don't appear to have much in the way of deep bass. It's rolling off after the upper bass peak. Early roll-off in the highs. This isn't looking great. Side on, well, yes, as you'd expect. On axis to the 4-range driver. We've got a brighter sound. Maybe the EQ modes are interesting. Red is the standard mode. Voice mode reduces the bass and lower mids. So-called bass boost does not boost the bass. This is the purple line, but it reduces everything outside the bass to make it sound a bit more bass heavy. That's a fake bass mode. Cramp spaces mode. It's reducing the bass and the mids. Just seems to be emphasizing 2 kilohertz and above, so nothing exciting there. We do have EQ in the app. Maybe that's interesting. This is standard mode. If we max out the bass slider, oh, actually we've got less bass. We've got less bass, but they're reducing everything else even more, so it makes it sound a little bit more bass heavy. So reduction in volume and a fake bass mode. The second slider, oh, well, that seems to affect the lower mids. Again, big reduction in overall volume, and it's just adjusting everything relative to the lower mids to emphasize the lower mids. Fake EQ mode. Standard mode. The third slider, the mids mode. Again, overall volume reduction and reducing the bass relative to the mids. Again, fake EQ mode. Third slider, upper mids. You know the story by now. Overall reduction in volume, just reducing everything relative to the upper mids. Fifth slider, the treble slider, reduction in volume, reducing everything relative to the high end. But look at the weird old high end, because it's like a 17 kilohertz peak, and it's a peak between 17 kilohertz and 2 kilohertz, and everything else is sucked out. It's really, really weird.
So yeah, that's a bit of a fake EQ, not a bit of a fake EQ. It's a massively fake EQ. We can't do what we can do with the Soundcore Motion Boom. We can't actually increase our headroom because there is no headroom. In fact, there's so little headroom. As soon as you start using your EQ, you're losing volume. So I'm going to leave everything in default. But what I am going to do is tell you, this is a 360-degree speaker. And that, of course, means you can play it from any degree, 100 degrees, 125, and it's going to sound exactly the same, isn't it? Is it? Let's just have a listen to face on versus side on. So, of course, we've got the drivers facing right, the drivers facing left. And when I say drivers, we've got a passive radiator each side, and we've got a full-range driver each side. If it's a 360-degree speaker, it should all sound exactly the same, shouldn't it?
Now I'm fucking nervous. I'm trying but can't scratch the surface. So keep my mouth shut and not listen. Afraid I lose you if I didn't. Till we find what we're missing and compromise. So keep my shoes on and not leaving. We're
sound a little bit different, does it? It sounds massively different. So different that basically for a 360-degree speaker, we have no dispersion. None at all. It's got, oh, lots of treble, very bright. No treble. Oh, I've just got mids. Nothing. Now, what have we actually got? Just to give you some of the headline features. Of course, all made in China. That is no surprise to us anymore. All basic SBC codec, but even more basic in terms of Bluetooth. Just Bluetooth 4.2 on the Ears Megaboom 3. It hasn't got 35 watts. It hasn't got 37 watts. It's got 36 watts. They're very, very precise. I don't know why it's so precise. 36 watts. It always puts a smile on my face because it doesn't need to be that precise. Round it up, mate. We'll know what you mean, but 36 watts versus just 30 watts. Got no chance. The Soundcore Motion Boom is Alan Ross's pound-for-pound world champion. And up against that, we've got the 40 watts of the JBL Charge 5. 36 versus 40, so just edges it to the JBL Charge 5, doesn't it? But in terms of weight, it is heavier and bigger and uglier. Of course, with a handle that we don't particularly like, but can be quite useful because it's quite chubby. Pound-for-pound world champion Soundcore Motion Boom. 1 kilo for the JBL Charge 5 and just under a kilo for the Ears Megaboom 3. So, got high hopes for this. One of the greatest names in Bluetooth speaker history. This is going to be, it's only a Motion Boom, but this is the Megaboom. Let's have a listen. About 60% volume, all three speakers. So we're talking moderate volumes where the Megaboom is going to crush the, it's just a Motion Boom.
In the open, dried out tears of sorrow, lacking all emotion, staring down the barrel, waiting for the final gates to open to a new tomorrow. Moving with the motion, following the light that sets me
First thing to note is the Motion Boom is only playing at 40%. 40% on the Motion Boom is about 60% on the Megaboom. So already a big difference in volumes. But yes, who is the winner here at 60%? Well, probably, I would say the JBL Charge 5. Bearing in mind I'm using custom mode on Motion Boom, which is not optimized for low volumes. If you're using it at low volumes, reduce the 2 bass sliders. But I really like the JBL Charge 5 at low to moderate volumes where it sounds really dynamic, really upfront and exciting. Bear in mind, it is a mono speaker. We've got a woofer and a tweeter and of course passive radiators. But having said that, it can't match the deep bass. Nobody can match for the price and size the deep bass of the Soundcore Motion Boom. And I can already hear some of you saying, I told you he works for Soundcore, and I keep telling you I have had no contact with Soundcore at all. Zero. I did email them once and they ignored me. That's how they think of me in the world of Soundcore. But come on, the Megaboom 3. Got a fantastic name. It looks fantastic. It's drop tested to 1 meter. And it's a speaker. So actually we want to know how it sounds. Sounds awful, doesn't it? Bear in mind, I'm recording how I think most people are going to use it, and I would use it. Face on, where you have the volume controls and you have some sense of stereo left and right. It does sound better, well, brighter anyway, face on. But no dispersion. It sounds awful to my ears, in my personal opinion. Front on, where it's a mid box. You've got mids, but you've got no highs, you've got no bass. It makes the Soundless Roam sound probably quite usable and value for money. That's how poor I personally judge. It's my personal opinion. The Megaboom 3 at these low volumes. Well, it's bound to come alive when we push the volumes. What we're going to push them to? We're going to push them to about 80%. Where, as I always say, where the bass tends to max out on these type of speakers. So it's a fair test for loud volume. It's going to win, isn't it? Because it's the Megaboom.
Ya vi que estás aquí, tan cerquita de mí, y me hacía falta, porque la última vez que vine tú no estabas, baby. Oh, vamos a tomar toda la noche, mujer, te invito a bailar hasta el amanecer. Tú quieres jugar y no quieres perder. Vamos a bailar, quiero verte mover lento, hasta que el dance solo junte nuestros cuerpos. Lento, yeah. Vamos a tomar toda la noche, mujer, te invito a bailar hasta el amanecer. Tú quieres jugar y no quieres perder. Vamos a bailar, quiero verte mover lento, hasta que el dance solo junte nuestros cuerpos. Muy lento. Más tarde vamos a enloquecer, y si me dejas tú serás mi mujer. Cuánto se nota que me quieres comer, por eso sé que vamos a enloquecer. Más tarde vamos a enloquecer, y si me dejas tú serás mi mujer. Cuánto se nota que me quieres comer, por eso sé que vamos a enloquecer. Ya vi que estás aquí, tan cerquita de mí, y me hacía falta, porque la última vez que vine tú no estabas, baby. Dime qué quieres, sin reproche, que solo te lo desabroche. Vamos al oscuro, hasta las 12. Ay, sí que tú me conoces. Suavecito vamos hasta abajo. Tú tomas tequila, yo voy con refajo. Pasamos bueno, te gusta el relajo, y de 100 billetes yo cargo un fajo. Vamos a tomar toda la noche, mujer, te invito a bailar hasta el amanecer. Tú quieres jugar y no quieres perder. Vamos a bailar, quiero verte mover lento, hasta que el sol junte nuestros cuerpos. Muy lento. Más tarde vamos a enloquecer, y si me dejas tú serás mi mujer. Cuánto se nota que me quieres comer, por eso sé que vamos a enloquecer.
So the Motion Boom is actually playing at 65% volume, which matches the 80% on the Megaboom 3. Have a look at the Megaboom 3's bass. The Charge 5 Motion Boom, and what you can see is there's no deep bass. It's all upper bass on the Megaboom 3, and we have a steep roll off. So it's all mids and upper bass on the Megaboom 3. The JBL Charge can match the upper bass on the Motion Boom, which isn't upper bass heavy, but it can't match the mid bass and can't match the deep bass that match volumes. And in terms of total bass, it's 4 decibels down. It's 9 decibels down at 50 hertz, but it's going to sound a bit clearer because it's a tad stronger in the mids and is stronger than the boom, around 3 kilohertz to 9.5 kilohertz.
Yeah, it's all changed now. For me, it comes into its own, especially with my custom EQ. It's the only one that can do proper, real deep, not boosted deep bass extension. You know, it still sounds okay on the JBL Charge 5, but not as good for me, for my money, as it does at moderate to low volumes. It sounds a bit thinner now. It does sound mono. I can do better with the Soundcore Motion Boom, albeit it's a lot bigger. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying I'd rather listen to the Boom at these volumes, whereas I prefer the Charge 5 at lower volumes, given that my EQ is really designed for high volume. Well, my EQ is designed for ease of use, one EQ for all volumes, and I think it works at all volumes, but it's not optimized for lower volumes where it's going to sound a little bit muddy. It does sound a bit better now, the Megaboom 3, but it's not enough to rescue it. It's completely lacking bass, and it's still a mid's box. How rare is it to be able to say that? You've got a highs box or a bass box. Is there anybody out there that says, yep, me mate, I'll have the mids bass, I'll have the mids box, please? No. A lot of people are very happy with that speaker, and that's absolutely fine, but I'm just giving you my personal opinion. So it's pretty awful to me. Front on, sounds better, side on, but hey ho, they say that's a 360-degree speaker. The Charge 5 is clearer and more defined than the Boom at these volumes, but the overall sound signature I certainly prefer on the Motion Boom. So what's the ultimate headroom? Is this where we get the mega boom? Or does the old hand now, almost, because it's holding its own against everything that's thrown at it, the pound-for-pound world champion Motion Boom, 100% volume. It's where we really find out what these speakers are made of.
We gon' turn the crib into a club like Hennessy and Buddha screaming thug life. Get it, baby, you know I'm the plug, right? Fucking got a feeling that it's gonna be a long night. Whoa, everything I touch turn cold. Need no introduction cause they know Brit and Mo. I hit the lotto, my motto, roll up gelato and throttle a couple models staccato who fucking brought up the bottles. I'm gone ham. This ain't even luck, all planned. Y'all know who the fucks I am. Burning bucks, smoke bands. Always been the MO since the start of this, and now I'm on a mission like I'm Artemis. Hey. We gon' turn the crib into a club like Hennessy and Buddha screaming thug life. Get it, baby, you know I'm the plug, right? Fucking got a feeling that it's gonna be a long night. Got a feeling that it's gonna be a long
Never an average night, 2-4 hours up in the day, I gotta make it right. 18 of those, I'm in the cave, I gotta make some light, make it hype, even if we break a night, and even if things go left, we gotta make them right. Chillin' with mom, we triple up, they on the double up, triple dub, came from the basement, we only going up, they loving us, up in the booth, I'm getting dizzy, but they the cup is up, toast to my people that's on the come up, and you live with us, ain't all about the trick of us, looking at my watch, and spirit bomb, both hands is going up, you going coast to coast with us, see the flows is flowing, overflowing, yeah, the cup it runneth over, tidal wave up in the ocean.
We gon' turn the crib into a club like Hennessy and Buddha screaming thug life. Get it, baby, you know I'm the plug, right? Fucking got a feeling that it's gonna be a long night. Got a feeling that it's gonna be a long night.
It's a bit of a slam dunk to the Motion Boom. It goes the loudest, not by a little bit, but by 4 decibels over the Charge 5, and by 8 decibels over the Megaboom 3. It's 7 decibels up on the Megaboom in terms of peak. Interestingly, in total bass, the Megaboom 3 is a decibel up on the Charge 5, but that's all upper bass. You may not even hear it as upper bass. There's a bit more of the mid bass on the Charge 5, and of course the Megaboom 3 has no deep bass at all, so the Charge 5 will win there. But the Motion Boom, 11 decibels up in terms of deep bass on the Charge 5, 12 decibels up at 50 hertz. The Motion Boom goes louder. It's got more bass. It's got more deep bass. It's a big win.
I mean, it's not even close. It's a big win for the Motion Boom. Maybe they should call it the Mega Boom versus just the Megaboom. I mean, I don't know who came up with that name or why. I have a guess that's probably to make you buy the speaker. It is not. It certainly isn't a Mega Boom on that speaker. hey ho, at maximum volume, it does actually have a tad more overall bass than the JBL Charge 5. And why is that? Well, because it has a hell of a lot more upper bass. There's no mid or deep bass on this. In fact, the deep bass is probably one of the most rolled off I've ever seen for a speaker like that at maximum volume. But the Motion Boom 4 dB up on the Megaboom 3 for overall bass, talking 40 decibels, 40 decibels up at 50 hertz, which is not really, you know, completely subwoofer territory. It is deep bass, but it's not subwoofer territory. To be that much up on a speaker that calls itself the Megaboom, to me is, I don't want to get sued, but to me it's quite extraordinary. This is a triumph of marketing. The UE Megaboom sells like hotcakes on Amazon, and it's 140 quid, 140 quid, 160 quid. It's £80. It must be absolutely rubbish. £80. You could get 2 of those, basically for one of these 2. How crazy is that? Other than the size, look, it's a rubberized fabric feel. It is throw about. You're going to travel with that. I'm sure you'll be quite happy with it. A lot of these speakers come down to what you're used to. If that's your first speaker, you're going to be well made up. You're going to love it. To anybody who's got ears that are slightly adjusted to knowing what something should sound like, if it was reasonably accurate to the original track, they're going to say, that's not nice. To me, that's awful. I have to say, I don't often say awful. I had the Sony XP32. It was pretty awful to my personal ears because it just sounds so off. A lot of people love that speaker. As I said, doesn't matter how bad I think a speaker is, I know a lot of people will love that speaker. But quite often that comes down to they've not listened to a lot of speakers. They just want something that kind of plays some music, and they have no sense of what it should sound like. Or they may. But hang on a second now. Even people who don't really know their music and they're not audiophiles like you are. I'm not an audiophile, by the way. It always gives me a kick when you say I am. They still, even if you don't know music, you know most people love their deep bass. It doesn't got any. It's 0. Megaboom got no deep bass. I've pretty much trashed that. I'm gonna have to put that on eBay and say it's lovely or something, or I won't even be able to sell it. I'm joking, of course. I know someone will buy that. I'm never going to play that for personal enjoyment. I hope I don't get sued. I'm trying to be honest, and I'm saying my opinion. I know people will come back and say, well, I like it, and it sounds great. That's fine. To me, that's perfect. You've only got to like the speaker you're listening to. It's not a case of me telling you, well, you should like this and you should like that. I'm telling you, from my own personal opinion, having listened to a lot of speakers, where I personally am with my speakers, and if you have the same sort of taste as me, you'll probably get a lot more out of it than if you have the opposite taste. And when it comes to speaker reviews, I think that's something you need to always take on board. How do your personal tastes match mine? We're talking about an art form, which is music, and it's going to be different to everybody. So, the takeaway of my personal review, the UE Megaboom 3, I think it's taking the mickey a little bit how they've named it. It certainly isn't a Megaboom, whether you like it or not. There's no mid or deep bass. It's extraordinarily lacking. Probably sound better from the side, but there's not really a 360-degree speaker. It's going to sound different no matter how you listen to it because it's almost 0 dispersion, which is extraordinary for a 360-degree speaker. The JBL Charge 5, really, really like it. Very, very travel-friendly, but for me, sounds better, more bass-heavy, more warmer at moderate to low volumes. And after that, I'm going to listen to the Motion Boom. If weight and size is not a complete deal breaker to you, and you like black, and it doesn't have to look the prettiest thing on the block. I hope you got something out of my video on the UE Megaboom 3, and I thank you for watching.
I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Ain't no project wife, got my logic right, cause I'm not your type. I ain't about that life. I ain't about that life. Sorry, ma, I ain't get it right. I'ma just live my life. I ain't about that. I ain't about that life.